I'm Greg Chumley, Workflow Analyst at Caslon, reviewing the extended G7 calibration capabilities of Canon's PRISMAsync controller. In this third video, I'll take a look at how PRISMAsync easily integrates with external G7 calibration systems. PRISMAsync provides some incredibly helpful capabilities for shops already doing G7 grayscale and color management. One aspect of G7 grayscale calibration that can be very time-consuming involves entering those tone reproduction curves into the printer's digital front end. PRISMAsync makes this easy. Here are two examples. For our first example, let's say we want to do G7 grayscale calibration using external tools. In this case, we'll print out the P2P target from ID Alliance on our press. We'll want to be sure that we are getting the raw engine printing without any source color management. So we'll use a workflow defined to do this. If we go to the automated workflow menu, we can see it. It's called G7 Calibration Workflow. Now, since this involves actual printing and scanning, I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but I will walk you through the process of printing and scanning. Automated workflows are executed by dragging and dropping files onto the associated hot folder. So we would drag and drop our P2P target file onto the G7 calibration hot folder to have it printed without any color calibration or management. Next, we would need to scan the test pattern with a spectrophotometer. There are a lot of software packages out there to do this, and here is what a free one called Measure Tool from X-Rite looks like. When it's done, it generates a text file containing the measurements for all 300 test patches. Next, we'll need a tool to convert those measurements into a G7 calibration curve. Here is an example. It's a software package called Curve 3, available from Chromix. Again, these software packages are all external to what Canon provides, so use whatever you like. Curve 3 analyzes that measurement text file and shows how closely each aligns with what it should read. In this case, our tonality, or contrast, curve is all within tolerances, but our gray balance curve, which is the one that doesn't include black, is out of specification. Clicking Create Curves generates the tone reproduction curves, which can be imported into the DFE to correct any values which are out of spec. This is simply a text file containing correction values. Basically, it's telling the printer where to boost or where to reduce each color in order to achieve the desired result. All this isn't as seamless as the embedded approach covered in the first video, but up to this point, it's pretty straightforward. However, if you're doing this today, you know that getting those correction values into some digital front ends can be time-consuming and challenging. Here is where PRISMAsync really helps. When we go to our G7 coded family and click Edit, we can click Select a file next to Import G7 calibration file, select our correction file, and import it. In most cases, you'll import the same calibration for normal, fine, and stochastic halftone screens, and click OK when you're done. Now, it's a minor nit, but I doubt most users will perform 3 separate halftone screen calibrations for each media on each press. So I think Canon should have included an Apply All button to apply the same calibration for all 3 screens. Again, this seems minor, but remember that the objectives are to make calibration fast and easy and to avoid mistakes, such as forgetting to apply the calibration to one of the screens. But now that our media family is calibrated, one nice thing we can do with external calibration is to test and to verify that it worked. To do that, I'll print that same test target again with my calibration applied. To do this, I'll open up the G7 validation print automated workflow, select the media, and change the color preset to the desired color management condition. In this case, I just want to measure the G7 calibration, but I could also select grackle or other color management conditions as well. Once this is set, I drag the target file onto the G7 validation print hot folder, print it, scan it, import it into Curve 3 again, and see how it performs. Here's the scan of the uncalibrated print, showing how it is out of spec. And here is the scan of the corrected version. Notice how everything is green and within spec. So we've just proven that our calibration worked. Now, you aren't just limited to G7 grayscale performance. G7 calibration is often just one part of a whole color management workflow. You may also want to generate and import other output color profiles to support G7 targeted or G7 color space compliance levels. For our second example, let's say that we used i1 Profiler from X-Rite to develop a test target with potentially thousands of patches. We can use the PRISMAsync G7 tools to print a G7 calibrated profiling target, scan it, and read it with color management software to generate a new ICC color profile for the combination of the press and the media. Building custom color profiles on top of a G7 calibrated condition can be fairly difficult for many digital front ends, but PRISMAsync makes it straightforward. Once we have our ICC profile file, we go to the Color tab, select Output Profiles, click Import, browse until we find the file, select it, click OK, click G7 if it's built on a G7 calibration condition, and import it into the system. Once that ICC profile is in the system, we can edit the desired media family, select the ICC profile, and we're done. So even with external calibration methods, PRISMAsync appears to provide tremendous simplification and streamlining of the G7 calibration process, just like I noted in the first video. The greatest limitation is that it only works for Canon production digital presses. If, however, you're using Canon presses, this, along with their exceptional printer media and queue management, could be a very compelling reason to select Canon's PRISMAsync controller.